Hey crew, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun tropical themed scroll saw project video, now that we are in the heat of summer, I've got an older design picked from an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. I've already got the pattern prepped and attached to our material with clear packing tape. And the issue in question is Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine, summer 2024, issue 95, with the hamburger design on the cover. Really creative design to bring to life over on the scroll saw. But the article we are going to be focusing on, it's the article we focused on before, actually begins on page 23. As you see here, it says Dolphin and Shark fretwork, opposites attract in this unlikely pair of sea denizens. So there you see a visual representation of what we have made before and what we are making today by Mr. Wayne and Jacob Fowler. So thank you all for the creative design. The following pages have the full-size patterns, and if you all remember, 1 year for Shark Week, we have already made the tropical shark design here. So this is a previous video over on the channel if you care to go back and watch it. But the one we're going to be focusing on today is the dolphin breaching out of the ocean at sunrise or sunset. And you can see here it's got a little hoop with a hole in it to where it can be like a sun catcher. You can hold it or hang it in front of a window, let the sun rays come through it. I'm going to finish it a little bit differently. I took a photo as clear as I could with my cell phone and sent it to my printer and enlarged the pattern to a little bit bigger. So there you see our piece we are cutting out, and there you see the pattern itself. That's always an option and versatility when it comes to scroll saw projects and designs. So you do have the beautiful detail here. There's some delicate work that's going to be around the dolphin's eyes, so we will of course take our time and let the blade do the work. I'm going to go on and stack cut 2 out of 1/4 inch material to offer some support to those fragile and delicate areas, and we're going to have another piece of 1/4 inch material for our backer board. And if you all remember when I done the tropical whale migration scene, I think it was last year, I'll show that project again at the end of this video, we elevated it up off the backer board, and I thought that was a really cool look and visual, and I think that's what I'm going to do with this project today. But since everything is pretty much prepped and prepared, let's move the camera over to the workbench so we can get our Seiko scroller's drill out and drill all the pilot holes required so we can start making some more tropical sawdust. And over here on the workbench, we're taking the Seiko scroller's drill and a tiny drill bit and drilling out all of the pilot holes for internal cutting. And you will note that I have a backer board behind the scroll work to prevent blowout of the pilot holes on the reverse side. But after all of the pilot holes are drilled, we'll head over to the Rikon scroll saw and begin scrolling. For all of the scrolling on this project, I'll be using a number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade, and it will cut through our material exceptionally well with minimal chip out. Once again, we are stack cutting through 2 layers of 1/4 inch plywood here, and the waves at the bottom of this piece has a lot of those tight V-turns in it, and you all know how we accomplish those over at the scroll saw by going in one side of the V-point and back out and going into the other side and tapering it down to as fine a V-point as the pattern calls for. But we'll soon be switching to a close-up view, and you will see some of that delicate detail that is in the waves and the dolphin's face. Here you can see me working on some of those smaller details. Again, with this set of patterns that was featured in the magazine, there was 2 of them. One was a shark that we done previously for a Shark Week video, and the other one was this dolphin, and I always wanted to go back and make it and bring it to life. And of course we are taking our time and letting the blade do the work. A lot of delicate details here. If you guys would like to try this pattern, it's available in an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing, and I'll show it once again before we close the video. But cutting this out, it reminded me of a dolphin cruise me and my mom went on years ago. We got to go out on the Atlantic Ocean with the rest of the party and search for dolphins jumping in the waves. Doing the final internal cut here, and once it is done, it'll be time to release our dolphin scene from the waste wood, and that'll simply be a matter of following that long outside perimeter cut line. But not all of the scrolling will be complete. We've still got to make the backer board. So over at the workbench, we'll carefully remove the two pieces, and we'll take our first layer here and take a washer and another piece of 1/4 inch plywood and trace around the perimeter with the washer technique to get a perfect backer board. And then we can head back over to the scroll saw to do the final bit of scrolling. Still using that same number 5 Ultra reverse tooth scroll saw blade. But after this is cut, we'll get our first visual of the finished design, and then we can head over to sanding with 180 grit Klingspor Woodworking Shop sandpaper in the vibrating palm sander, and I'll sand the front and back of both pieces with small circular motions and very light pressure. But after everything is sanded, it'll be time to begin adding splashes of color, and for the backer board we're going to do a nice ocean blue spray paint here, and this is Rust-Oleum spray paint, and while it is drying by the shop door in the breeze, we'll focus on the actual scroll work, and we will break out the acrylic craft pens. And I will not bore you all with all of the painting process here. I'm just adding colors to the areas and trying to add a nice tropical flair to the scene that we have just cut out over at the scroll saw. And if you do not have acrylic craft pens, you could totally use paint and paint brushes, or if you cut the project out of exotic or hardwoods, you could actually just leave it natural. If you all like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to the channel and follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. I truly appreciate the support. But once all of the painting is done, and the acrylic craft pens paint relatively quickly, almost immediately, but I will set it aside to dry just like we did the backer board, and I can begin painting, or cutting out rather, the spacers that will elevate the piece off of the backer board. And I will use a scrap piece of the same piece of 1/4 inch plywood here and cut out some very small squares over at the Delta bandsaw, and then I'll collect those, and then it will be time for glue up and assembly with medium grade CA glue and activator. And I will carefully glue our little squares we cut out on the reverse side here, and I'm trying to make sure they'll be hidden once the piece is flipped around. But then it'll be time to glue it to the backer board and spray it with the activator. And I'll let it dry and cure for around 5 minutes before giving it a finish with a few coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss. And it really made those tropical colors pop and stand out. And here we have the completed tropical dolphin jumping out of the ocean, cut out completely over on the Rikon scroll saw from start to finish, and it finished up beautifully with some tropical and summer-like detail. I want to once again thank Mr. Wayne and Jacob Fowler for the beautiful and creative design for Scroll Saw Woodworking. The Fowlers have produced thousands upon thousands of beautiful and creative scroll saw woodworking projects. It took me around 30 minutes to scroll this project out completely from start to finish. It's not a very complicated design. It's just with around the dolphin's eye and his nose and everything there. Some of those cuts can be very tedious, so you need to, of course, take your time and let the blade do the work. With my experience and me being seasoned over on the scroll saw, so to speak, it only took me around 30 minutes to cut it out. It might vary for you, especially if you cut it out of thicker or thinner material. Always be aware of the feed rate. A lot of the cutting was these tight V-points that make up where the ocean waves are breaking, and you all know how I go in and cut those V-cuts out over at the scroll saw. But I think it really came out great. And then we used the acrylic paint pens to add a splash of tropical color. Now there's a lot I want to talk about as we close this video, but please be aware you could always leave the project natural. That is always an option. Or if you cut it out of exotic or hardwoods, you might not even need to apply any type of paint stains or anything like that. You can go right into finishing. The backer board is 1/4 inch material, and we spray painted it with a nice ocean blue Rust-Oleum spray paint, and then again the actual scroll work was done with the acrylic craft pens. And then I cut some more 1/4 inch pieces out over on the bandsaw to help elevate the piece off of the backer board. I think it adds a nice three-dimensional visual as opposed to just gluing it right to the backer board. We've done this in a previous project that I talked about at the beginning of the video. The first time I'd done that method of finishing a project was with this tropical whale migration piece. This is an old Creative Woodworks and Crafts magazine pattern, and it's also a featured video over here on the channel, and you can see how I elevated it off of the backer board. But here is an option with just doing the backer board a ocean blue color and leaving the scroll work natural, or adding a splash of color. Now again, we did stack cut in today's video, so there's other options for finishing. If I wanted to finish this one here, this one hasn't even been sanded yet. This was the second layer we stack cut. You can see how it looks fresh off of the scroll saw and all of those tight V-turns without any of the paint, you know, hiding any of them away or anything. But I could totally finish this one like the whale one and not add any color. I could stain it a uniform color, or if you cut this project out of thicker material, again, it's intended to look like a sun catcher, as I'll show you in the magazine before we close this video formally. And you could put colored epoxies or resins in it to really give it a sun catcher and stained glass appearance with some tropical flair. Now remember, we got these scrapbook pieces at the Hollow store when we went there earlier in the year. It was back in the winter, but you could totally use that as a backer board. You can see the tropical waves there. You could match up the ocean with the shoreline there and do it like that. I think that would be really cool if you got the proper piece. And then you also have this one here with the palm trees on it, so that would be another option to use a different way of making a backer board for a scroll saw project. Again, the only limitation is your imagination when it comes to scroll saw patterns and designs. And again, I enlarged the pattern. Here is the one featured in the magazine, and as I said, it's meant to be like a sun catcher to hang in a window. I just simply kept following along the outside perimeter circle and cut that little hoop that was supposed to accept a ribbon or a cord off. And you can see here that I enlarged the pattern. Again, you can cut it out this size, you can make it this size, or even bigger if you wanted to. And again, we did the shark in a previous project video as well. But again, as I showed you at the beginning of the video, we had the visual representations here of how they could potentially look when finished. And with both of these, you can see they did not add a backer board on both of the projects we have made and brought to life on Scroll Saw project videos. I have opted to add a backer board to them. Of course, if you cut the shark out of thicker material, he could easily freestand on his shelf, desk, or countertop without a base or needing anything extra. And I think this finished up beautiful with the tropical decor in it. These acrylic craft pens have come in very handy this year over on the channel, and I wish I would have ordered them years ago. My friends kept telling me, you know, you could do that to add little subtle colors to your scroll saw projects or laser projects, and I finally got them, and I'm happy that I did, because they can add that next level of detail to scroll saw projects. But the pattern, as I said, was featured in an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing, summer 2024, issue 95 to be precise, with the wooden hamburgers on the colors. Really cool and creative designs. But I hope this this design that we have cut out today for a summer scroll saw project video shows that with a little bit of time, practice, patience, and effort, you can go from lines on a piece of paper like the pattern to the cutout piece to a beautiful finished tropical project. One more look at it here and we will close the video. Hopefully along the way from the intro until now you all picked up a tip, trick, or tidbit for scroll saw woodworking, and maybe you will want to try elevating a scroll saw project off of the backer board when you make a scroll saw project out in your garage or workshop. That's going to be about all for this one, crew. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social media feeds will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, crew, and remember, if I can make it or do it, so can you all. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you all real soon.